Hello and welcome to the 9 p.m. daily quiz. I hope all of you are doing good. I welcome you all to this session where we discuss every evening the important news of the day by converting them into prelim specific questions and then discussing them. If you're new here, please do hit the subscribe button, and if this video helps you in any way whatsoever, do hit the like button as well. I'll highly appreciate that. In order to join my Telegram channel to get the PDFs of all these classes, you can look at the description of the video. You'll find the link to join the Telegram channel. Apart from that, you can also download my app from the Google Play Store, wherein you can find out all the other courses that I'm running, including personal mentorship programs, one-on-one programs for guiding you personally for the prelims exam, for the mains answer writing, and there are the PSIR live classes going on if you have a PSIR optional. With all that out of the way, let's begin with the first question. The Chevron model, recently seen in the news, is related to which of the following nations? Philippines, Turkmenistan, Venezuela, or Belarus? The Chevron model. It is in the news with respect to India as well. Think about it. The answer here would be Venezuela. C. Now, what exactly is this? See, Venezuela and US have a very interesting relationship over the past few years. America has also put many sanctions on Venezuela. Now, as you know, Venezuela has one of the largest crude oil reserves in the entire world. Now, what has happened is, in order to maintain good relationship with the US, what has happened is Venezuela has come up with a new kind of a policy called the Chevron model. Chevron model means that in certain parts of Venezuela, if you have to explore crude oil, you can do that with the permission of the US. So if the US allows, then you can explore crude oil in some parts of Venezuela. This particular model is called the Chevron model. It is in the news because ONGC Videsh is seeking the American permission to operate projects in sanction hit Venezuela. The Venezuela, under the so-called Chevron model, allows of foreign oil companies to operate in sanction hit Venezuela after receiving specific approvals from the US. That is why it is important. The US major Chevron was the first to operate in Venezuela through this particular route. It's a big company in the US. That is why it is called the Chevron model. Next, question number 2. Consider the following statements with regards to anti-dumping duty and countervailing duty. First, anti-dumping duty is imposed to prevent low-price foreign goods from damaging the local market, while the CVD or countervailing duty will apply to foreign products that have enjoyed government subsidies which eventually lead to very low prices. Second, while anti-dumping duty amount depends on the margin of the dumping, the CVD amount will completely depend on the subsidy value of the foreign goods. Third, CVD is thus an import tax by the importing country on imported products. How many of these are correct? Now, these are terms that usually remain in the news, especially with respect to China trade. There are allegations that Chinese government provides many subsidies to their companies, thus artificially reducing the price of Chinese products. When such a Chinese product, for example, comes to India, the Indian government has to increase the prices artificially to make it competitive as compared to other countries. That is called countervailing duty, that is a CVD. On the other hand, anti-dumping duty in itself is imposed on those goods which are cheaper without any government interference. In that aspect, all these three are correct. The answer here is C. All the three statements here are correct. There's this article in the Indian Express newspaper. The Directorate General of Trade Remedies under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry has recommended imposing anti-dumping duty on aluminium foils imported from China. It has been observed that the Chinese imports have captured 30% of the Indian market despite having sufficient domestic capacity in India, which is why this is a matter of concern. Despite several efforts to curb Chinese imports from India, the goods are increasingly making their way into India. Chinese imports have already crossed $60 billion in the first 7 months of 2024. Next, question number 3. Consider the following statements with regards to Pacific Islands Forum. Number 1. It consists of 18 countries situated or located in the Pacific region. Second, It is an intergovernmental organization formed in 1971. And third, Australia and New Zealand are amongst the wealthiest and largest countries which are part of the organization. How many of these are correct? Now, Pacific Island Nations or PIF, this forum remains in the news because they collectively have meetings with regards to climate change because they are the ones who will be most impacted due to any rise in the sea level. There are also concerns about Chinese expansionist policies with respect to this region. That is why this particular forum is important. All these three given statements about the Pacific Islands Forum are correct. It is an 18 member group, including Australia and New Zealand, etc., and it was formed in 1971. The reason why it is in the news is because they recently held a meeting in which they joined up or they backed a joint police plan of all the 18 countries together. And despite pressure from China, they have decided to maintain or continue maintaining their ties with Taiwan. As you know, China has been putting pressure on the countries not to officially recognize Taiwan as a country, but the Pacific Island Forums say that they will continue to recognize the Taiwanese country. Next, question number 4. Consider the following statements. Number 1. Union government has lifted the cap, that is a limit, on producing ethanol from sugarcane related products. Second, in 2023, a cap was imposed on diversion of sugar for ethanol production due to concerns about potential decrease in sugar production and a possible rise in sugar prices. Third, the union government has set a target to increase the ethanol blending rate in petrol to 20% by 2025. How many of these are correct? Now, as you know, the government of India has been running what you call as a ethanol blending program. The aim is that by 2025 we want 20% mixing of ethanol into the petrol. This target is extremely ambitious, but many countries such as Brazil have achieved this and they have gone further. The problem of this target or problem with this target is that we need to increase the ethanol production as well. Government last year was worried that if we use too much sugarcane for ethanol production, that means we are not using sugarcane for sugar production. So lack of sugar supply will increase the cost. So government had imposed a limit on that. Now that the sugar supply is stable and we want to focus back on the ethanol blending program, the government has removed this cap. Third is also correct. All these three statements are correct. The answer again is C in this case. There is a news in the Hindu newspaper, and I've taken this specifically from Down to Earth. India relaxes cap on production of ethanol from sugarcane and paddy after 8 months. Next, question number 5. Which of the following privileges are accorded to Navratna companies in India? 1. They can undertake investment of up to 2500 crore rupees without central authority approval. Second, they can allocate 50% of their net worth annually. Third, they can engage in joint ventures but not with overseas subsidies. How many of these are correct? Now, as you know, the government categorizes its companies into different categories: Mini Ratna, Navratna, Maharatna, depending on their performance. With that in mind, Navratna concept is important. Can they undertake investment of up to 2500 crore? No. They can take investment of up to 1000 crore without the central government approval. Second, they can allocate 50% of their net worth annually. Again, wrong. They can allocate about 30% and not 50%. So second is also wrong. Third is also wrong. They can have their venture with overseas subsidy as well. So all the three statements are wrong. They can engage in joint ventures, yes, but also with overseas subsidy. So all these three are wrong. First should be 1000 crore, second should be 30%, and third should be that they can engage with overall subsidy as well. So the answer here is D. None of the three statements here are correct. The reason why we're discussing this is that just today, NHPC has been accorded the Navratna status by the Government of India. This works under the Ministry of Power. That is why it is important. To end the session, again, I have an important infographic for you, this time from history. This photo shows you the evolution of the Indian national flag, how the national flag has changed over time. 1906, during the Swadeshi boycott movement, a flag was first hoisted in Calcutta at that time, Kolkata today. 1917, Home Rule movement, another flag was hoisted. 1921, the flag took on a more familiar form. As you can see, it was not always the colors that we use today. The colors that we use today, they came up in 1931. At that time, we had charkha of Gandhiji, and then it evolved later on because charkha, when seen from front and from the back, would not give the same impression. So it was replaced by the Ashok Chakra. This brings me to the end of today's session. I hope you learned something new today. If you did, do hit the like button as well. Thank you so much for joining in. I'll see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. Jai Hind.